And why is this game so important to Georgia?
Well, you put so much into the game, you know. It's like if you can't enjoy these moments, well, why do we do it? You know, if I can't embrace my family and hug them and love it and see the fans that stuck around for it, that's what it's all about to me. I mean, like, I had a coach a long time ago tell me, if you can't enjoy those moments, then why are you in the business? And the players, you know, they work hard, guys. They practice so many times a week for this one game. And, you know, I want them to enjoy it. I want them to see the emotion of it. It doesn't matter to me that it's Florida. It matters to me that it's our team and they won.
How much have you seen him grow from that point, the first game he's played in, to tonight, whenever he's breaks the SEC record for completion percentage over 30-plus attempts?
Oh, he did, huh?
Yeah.
Well, good.
That's what really good coaches do. They look at the personnel, and that's something that we've had to do as we learn this team early in the season. You know, where do we put the guys? What's the best fit? What's the best routes? What are the best things that we can do as a staff to put these guys in a situation they can be successful? And Coach Bobo has done a good job of that.
Tyler Beatty a little bit there. He went for 294 yards today.
Yeah, I guess he did go 294. I mean, he's a great player. I've been saying it for a long time. He's probably the best player that nobody's talking about. You know, he's really the engine that drives us. He's a competitor and showed it tonight.
Oh, welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And flying solo for this episode, Cousin Shane lost in the California Palm Springs desert. Hopefully he'll be back, finds his way home, back to his hotel room to hop on the line for the next episode. But hey, I got a good idea for a show here. Put out my updated SEC Power Rankings. First look ahead to the 2022 season, and those have gone pretty viral. So I thought, hey, not a whole lot going on. We've been talking a lot of Georgia, Alabama. Here's a great way to talk about all 14 SEC teams. So, hey, that's going to be the show topic for today. And before we get to that, though, as always, we like to start with some viral clips if we can. And if you missed it, we got two really good ones here. Stetson Bennett on Good Morning America here on Tuesday morning. Looked like he barely slept. I don't want to say he was hungover. I don't even know if he drinks or anything, but sure looked like he had a good time last night. And I thought Georgia fans in particular would appreciate these comments from Stetson
Bennett is joining us live. Stetson, good morning, my friend. How you feeling this morning after that incredible performance last night? Have you had a chance to get any sleep?
You know, a few hours. Not many. I've been wondering about. Not many.
Well, you're going to have plenty of time to sleep. Congratulations.
Now, if you didn't know, the national champions, they got to wake up in the morning and hold a press conference, talk about what the win means to them and everything, and how brutal. I mean, can we not wait till we get to Athens to do this type of stuff? And this is what you get. I mean, a guy fresh off partying. I remember Joe Burrow. He did something similar like this. He was bloodshot eyes there after the cash grab there when they beat Clemson for the national championship. So, hey, time to do away with this. Let these players cut loose. Let the coaches cut loose. But one other clip, flipping to the other side here. If you haven't seen this by now, I just thought this was really special. Nick Saban in defeat at the podium after the game with Bryce Young, Will Anderson. Can only imagine what all those players are going through after they come so close to winning a national championship but fall just short. And before closing the thing out, Nick Saban had a important message for Tide Nation and all of college football, really.
Bryce and Will, thanks for your time. We'll let you head back to your locker room.
I'd like to say something. Can I say something?
Absolutely.
You know, these two guys that are sitting up here, they're not defined by one game. These guys played great for us all year. They're great competitors. They were great leaders on this team, and they contributed tremendously to the success of this team, and we would not be here without them. All right, and both of them take responsibility for the loss, but both of them contributed in a lot of ways in a positive way to giving us a chance to win and a chance to be here to have an opportunity to win. So I just want to thank them for that and let everybody know how proud I am of these two guys.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you very
So
much.
I just thought that was a tremendous moment there by a guy that, at this point in his career, he doesn't need any extra praise. He's gotten it all, and he's seen it all, and he's won the big game more than most. He's lost it probably more than most too, because most never even reach those high peaks. So I just thought it was an important lesson, because this is the first time Will Anderson, Bryce Young have experienced defeat in this type of setting, and those players both set to be poised to return next season for what should be a top 5, if we're not kidding ourselves, top number 1 preseason team, Alabama. So really great message there from Nick Saban, and that'll bleed into my SEC 2022 power rankings. And I'm getting confusion on this already. Same as always, if Team A were meeting Team B on a neutral field next week, who I'm picking to win the game, I rank them higher. And it's got nothing to do with what just happened. 2021 season, already seeing other people, well, hell, Arkansas will beat this team. They beat that team. Mississippi State, what the hell? They went to College Station. 2022 season. Now, again, I know this is way too early. I'm not making any projections. I'm not saying one team's going to win the SEC. I'm not picking that here on January 11th. I'm not crazy. But this is just where I see things stand immediately after the season coming to an end. There's so many transfers. We haven't even got to the national signing day. The assistant coaching carousel, that's still to be worked out. You got players jumping in and out of the portal. We'll get to that. Updates all across the SEC. Just thought I'd do it team by team while we're sitting here. But let's start off, no surprise, number 14.
Number 14.
The Vanderbilt Commodores. And when Clark Lee took over in Nashville, you had to believe, even the most diehard Commodore fan knew, this was going to be a multi-season rebuild. The Commodores, of course, did not win an SEC game, second season in a row. They came close, particularly in Columbia against South Carolina. They had a win pulled out from under them in the closing seconds. But, if I'm a Vanderbilt fan, I take solace in the fact that, this team never gave up on Clark Lee and that coaching staff. They played hard all the way till the very end. They were in some ball games, some SEC ball games late in the season. And I think you found something in Mike Wright. Maybe time for Ken Seals. I don't know if it's time for him to move on or not, but if not, hell, you got one of the best backup quarterbacks in the SEC. But just given the state of the Vanderbilt roster, and particularly that offensive line was the worst in the SEC, I think you got to go with a more mobile quarterback, and Mike Wright started to flash a little bit there. The defense, very inconsistent for much of the season, but even they started to show some progress. And, man, they are touting this signing class they just got as the best in Vanderbilt program history. So you got to believe that damn near each one of those players is going to see the field immediately for the Vanderbilt Commodores. So, hey, we still got a long way to go, but the arrow is pointing up there in Nashville.
Number 13.
Now, number 13. Here's where things were already starting to get fans upset, but I'm going the Missouri Tigers. And it's got a lot to do with the fact that, we just lost Tyler Beatty. He's going to go off to the NFL, one of the best players, not only in the SEC, but the country. Now, on the flip side, Eli Drakowitz, time after time, has been able to produce elite production out of the running back position. I don't see there's a player on Missouri's roster at this time that can necessarily replace Tyler Beatty. But I was saying the same damn thing last year when Larry Roundtree went off to the NFL and Tyler Beatty stepped up. So someone will probably emerge. Connor Bazelak, of course, off. He's off to Indiana. Who's going to be our starting quarterback for Missouri? That remains to be seen. Will it be Cook? Will it be Tyler Macon? They've got an incoming freshman that is very, very touted, one of the top 10 quarterbacks signees in the country. So, hey, we've got some options, but that remains a mystery. The defense for most of the season was very, very poor under Steve Wilks as he transitioned to the college football game. Now, I'll give them this. They looked a lot stronger in the second half of the season, but Makai Wingo's already entered the transfer portal. He was one of their promising linemen. They've had several secondary players announce they're going off to the NFL. A lot to rebuild, and hell, I know you just signed, again, theme here, probably the best signing class in the history of the program. Going to have to see a lot of those guys on the field next season for Missouri. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom here, because Missouri did something really smart here on Tuesday. They announced they are going to have 7 home games next season. This is how you do it. This is basically the Kentucky blueprint. Line you up as many home games as you can against winnable programs. For some damn reason, Missouri was set to open next season at Middle Tennessee, so we've taken that game off the schedule, replaced it with a home game against Louisiana Tech. You know, hell, you would have beat MTSU either way, but you need as many home games, get the fans excited, get that revenue going, let recruits see your campus, your facility, all that. So you got to maximize home opportunities. Credit to Missouri for adding that 7th home game. And hey, it ain't doom and gloom. Look at the home schedule here for Missouri next year. Louisiana Tech, mentioned them. Abilene Christian, that's another win. Georgia, go be tough. But then you got Vanderbilt, Kentucky, New Mexico State, and Arkansas. Not saying you're going to win all those games, but hell, we've seen crazier things in the SEC. So I'm just seeing one surefire loss in the Georgia Bulldogs. And hell, who knows? Who knows how they rebuild after winning the national championship. So Missouri's schedule looking pretty promising.
Number 12.
Next on the list, the Auburn Tigers. Now, of course, they were red hot. Remember, I made fun of myself here. Brian Harsin, SEC Coach of the Year, about midway point in the season. They looked incredible. They controlled their own destiny in the SEC West going into the final month of the season. And then the wheels came off. Lost to the Mississippi State. That really did them in there, and just loss after loss after loss. So, and crushing losses. The Iron Bowl, let's not forget the Birmingham Bowl. I mean, so many losses. You have fired Mike Bobo, Bo Nix off to Oregon. But, you know, it's not all doom and gloom here for the Auburn Tigers, because they have got a number of super seniors returning. And here on Tuesday, starting center Nick Brahms, starting left tackle Oxen Troxel were the latest to announce that they will be back to play for Brian Harsin's Auburn Tigers next season. And this is a theme here we're seeing in the SEC. Last year it was Lane Kiffin and Sam Pittman. Now we're seeing it at Auburn, South Carolina, and Tennessee, where these players are signing back up as super seniors, going into a second year of a new coach. There's momentum in the building. You know, there's a lot to figure out here. We got Zach Calzada, TJ Finley, Demarius Davis at quarterback. We kept Tank Bigsby. I mean, that was the biggest get of the offseason. I don't care who else you get the rest of the way. Getting Tank to stay for another season on the Plains, that was huge for the Auburn Tigers. If you find a way to get this offensive line going, get some receivers now that Kobe Hudson's off the team, Derek Mason with this defense, they've had a lot of guys returning. Defense looks to be a strength once again for the Auburn Tigers. And I know number 12 seems pretty low. You're still, believe it or not, if you're 12th in the SEC, you're talking top 30, top 35 in the country. And hell, every time we doubt Auburn, they rise up the charts. Every time we pick them to make some noise in the West, they fall apart. So, hey, if nothing else, this is exactly where you want to be on the Plains.
Number 11.
All right, it was tough to place this team, but Billy Napier's first team there in Gainesville, so many unknowns, completely new coaching staff, and here on Tuesday made it official. Rob Sale, New York Giants offensive line coach, coming down to Gainesville to be a offensive coordinator, run game coordinator for the Florida Gators. He's got SEC experience in his background. This is a guy that knows Billy Napier well, so the staff is coming together. You're winning on the recruiting trail. You're getting, I don't know if they had, I think they had 1 4-star when Napier got there, and of course they suffered some defections, and I'm not looking at the numbers in front of me, but I think they've turned around and got about half a dozen blue chip prospects in a short amount of time to commit to play for Billy Napier there in Gainesville. So, just a complete unknown. I'm basically putting Florida here based on the talent, based on the coaching staff, but it's going to be tough right out the gate. Very difficult schedule. Utah, let's see, second game I think is winnable. I'm not looking at the schedule, apologize, but Kentucky, Tennessee, right out the gate. I mean, this is, there's not many layups here for the Gators right out the gate, and if they don't start fast, could be a rough season. But on the flip side, you come out, no one's going to have film on what you're running. You got Anthony Richardson. You got Emory Jones. You just landed the Ohio State transfer, Jack Miller, at quarterback. So suddenly we got a deep quarterback room here with the Florida Gators. That's what Billy Napier has done very well during his career. Coach up the receivers and the quarterback, get that offense humming. And, there's certainly talent to work with. So the Florida Gators got you number 11 right now, but certainly I could see it rising up the charts quickly next season.
Number 10.
Now here's another one. I just don't really know where to put the team. Was it all Coach O? Was it all the roster? The roster was in a tough spot. But, hey, this team's got a lot of heart. We saw it there in the Texas Bowl taking the field against Kansas State. But what will it look like under Brian Kelly in the first season? I suspect they're going to start slow, finish strong. So that's kind of why I got LSU Tigers number 10 in the SEC as of January 11th. Now, they got a lot of holes. And Brian Kelly says we're going to attack this thing via the transfer portal. They've already started to do that because Arkansas team captain, former starting defensive back Joe Fouché, announced here on Tuesday he's an LSU Tiger. He's coming home. He's not alone. Louisiana Lafayette DB Mekhi Garner, a multi-year starter for Billy Napier at Louisiana, now a member of the LSU Tigers. So quickly, we're seeing the wheels in motion. Of course, we got Miles Brennan recommitted to the program, Walker Howard, Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, we've got some intriguing options at the quarterback position. Kayshon Boutte, possibly the best receiver returning in the SEC. Got to fix offensive line. That's got to be a huge, huge, huge area of concern for Brian Kelly and company this offseason. What's his defense going to look like? I think we take for granted that LSU's defense is always going to be dominant. They got plenty of good players on that side of the ball. It's going to be very interesting to see what they do in Matt House's system. But again, too many unknowns right now to put him any higher than number 10, in my opinion.
Number 9.
The Ole Miss Rebels. Now, this is one I'm already catching a ton of heat for. 10-win season. We all know the historic year the Rebels had on the field, but this is a new season. 2 coordinators gone. Kevin Smith, the running backs coach, off to Miami. That was just announced. Of course, Matt Corral, Snoop Connor, Jerrion Ely. A lot of offensive talent off to the NFL as well on the defensive side of the ball. So, I don't want to say a total rebuild here because that's not fair because Kiffin and company, they signed a good class their first cycle there in Oxford. So those players are going to start to be coming up to speed. But a lot of unknowns, and I really am waiting for Ole Miss to land a transfer quarterback before I really know how to gauge what they've got here. We've seen Luke Altmaier a little bit, not very impressive, but hell, he's a true freshman playing in a system that anytime you take out, one of the top quarterbacks in the country, there's going to be a significant drop-off with where you're talking a true freshman that's never played at this level of football in his life. So, it's not fair to judge him. Maybe he makes a big jump this offseason. Let's hope he does. If he does, Ole Miss can rise up these charts. But, until further notice, I got confidence in Lane Kiffin and his ability to coach up his football team. But again, very tough to kind of decide what the Ole Miss Rebels are going to look like at this point in time.
Number 8.
The South Carolina Gamecocks, maybe too low. I mean, hell, they did beat some quality teams here at the end of the season, and they beat the hell out of North Carolina in the bowl game. Love to see that. But, of course, the big story here, a lot of upperclassmen returning for Shane Beamer's Gamecocks, and, of course, that's going to just add to the roster bonuses of Spencer Rattler, Austin Stogner, both from Oklahoma. And then here, just this week, we've had it. Man, they've been cleaning up in the transfer portal. Wake Forest running back Christian Beal, he's a Gamecock. James Madison receiver Antoine Wells, Gamecock, tearing up the JMU record books. He's He's a redshirt freshman we're talking about. First in program history in touchdowns, ninth in receiving yards. Now he's a Gamecock. Terrell Dawkins, NC State defensive line, he's a Gamecock. Damani Reed, Central Michigan safety, he's a Gamecock. So that all happened this week. We're talking 6 transfer additions, and we ain't even till halfway through January. So, hey, credit Shane Beamer and that coaching staff. They're doing what they can to add depth, to add quality players to their roster, and they're getting guys that have played in major college football, so they should be ready to go. We're not talking, aside from the JMU guy, last season, a lot of FCS transfers. They were basically taking who they could get, and hey, they identified some good players. Let's not talk down to Jason Brown and E.J. Jenkins. They certainly made an impact for the Gamecocks this season, but if nothing else, hey, that speaks to Shane Beamer and company's ability to target, identify, and land these transfers to come to Columbia. So, hey, South Carolina's going to be a dangerous, dangerous team next season. Certainly could see them climbing up these charts pretty quickly.
Number 7.
Mississippi State Bulldogs. I feel like a lot of luster taken off their season after losing the Egg Bowl, after losing the bowl game, and just embarrassing fashion here. But hey, let's not forget, it wasn't that long ago Mike Leach got to town, and Will Rogers tearing up the record books. Mike Leach's system, year in, year out, produces at a high level. Last offseason, we added Makai Polk. Now he's off to the NFL after tearing up the record books. And we just landed Northwestern safe receiver Jordan Mosley. He's a hell of a target. He was going to go to Tennessee. Then Pruitt got fired. He went to Northwestern. Now he's coming to Mississippi State, and he's not alone. West Virginia safety Jackie Matthews, who had 43 tackles, a sack, and an interception last season for the Mountaineers. Both of those players announced this week they're headed to play for Mike Leach, Mississippi State. And we know Zach Arnett, one of the most underrated defensive coordinators in the country. He does wonders with that group, considering the talent that he has to work with. And the talent's just getting better because this is going to be their second signing class there in Starkville, where they're identifying players that can fit their scheme. And that is what Mike Leach has. That's all he talks about is repetitions, repetitions, repetitions. And that's why we saw Will Rogers and the receivers take a jump in year 2. Now we got to get this offensive line solved. We got to restock the defense with some key players moving on to the NFL. But bright things ahead for Mississippi State, no doubt.
Number 6.
The Arkansas Razorbacks. Now, seeing a lot of people putting Arkansas in the top 10 in the country. And, I don't quite think that's crazy or anything, but I'm not ready to jump quite that far. Last season, and it's why I keep pointing out with South Carolina, Auburn, and Tennessee, we'll get to here in a moment. But, Arkansas and Ole Miss, they were incredibly helped last season by so many upperclassmen, super seniors returning to the football team. Now, we're going to have a couple of those this year. Dalton Wagner, Bumper Pool, solid collection of, that's a solid pair returning for the Arkansas Razorbacks. And the recruiting has gotten better since Sam Pittman's been there. We know he's got arguably the best combo of coordinators in the country in Kendall Briles and Barry Odom. But starting to see some troubling signs too with all these transfers. And, I think this is something we always do in the offseason. You lose a generational player like Treylon Burks, and we say, well, yeah, he'll be tough to overcome, but he's just one player. No, he's not. He's going to be legitimately a top 15 NFL draft pick, maybe even higher. Hell, he may be top 10. He's that good of a player. Who are you going to get to step up? Can Jadon Hazelwood? I think he's a good player. The transfer from Oklahoma, I don't think he's that good. So that's going to be something to see. Arkansas losing a lot on the defensive line. They're losing some key players at linebacker. Of course, I said Bumper Pool already. He's returning. We've got Jalen Catalon returning. So it's not like the cupboard's bare here. We've got some rising talent. We got KJ Jefferson, top 3 quarterback in the SEC. And the offensive line, you got to believe, with Sam Pittman there, is just going to keep continuing to get better. So that's why I got Arkansas 6. People are taking it as a slight. I'm saying they're a top 20 team. I'm just not ready to buy in that they're top 10 just yet.
Number 5.
Them Tennessee Vols. Again, another one, the bowl season. I don't read too much into bowl season. I mean, you look at it historically, a lot of people think you win a bowl game, you go on to a great year. It doesn't work that way. A bowl game means nothing for what the following season is going to do. But Tennessee does got to get that defense solved because there was too many times, they were just getting shredded by opposing teams. And that last time we saw them against Purdue, that was, of course, what happened. Now, on the bright side, of course, you should have one of the best offenses, if not the best offense in the SEC, with Hendon Hooker coming back, with Cedric Tillman coming back, with a bevy of running backs and 4 or 5 starting offensive linemen. This should be an offense that nobody wants to see next season in the SEC. And we just added a receiver from Wyoming. I apologize, I don't have his name in front of me, but he scored 12 touchdowns last season, and he's an incredible athlete. And the beauty with him, when you got Cedric Tillman returning, when you've got Jalen Hyatt returning, when potentially Javonte Payton, I don't think he's made his decision yet, returning, when you're bringing in a guy with 12 touchdowns in one season at Wyoming, you don't need him to be your number 1. You need him to be number 2, number 3 potentially receiver. And that's what a guy can do for you, 6'3" receiver. Again, Wyoming's top receiver there. I know that's a different level of competition, but it'll be interesting to see what he looks like in this offense. Recruiting is starting to pick up for Tennessee. We're going to see a deeper, more talented defense this season. You're not losing any, truly big-time playmakers on that side of the ball. Now that Tyler Barron jumped in the portal and jumped back out, that would have been your biggest loss. He's back. I saw a lot of promising signs for Tim Banks and his defense there in Knoxville. They just were lacking a lot of depth, particularly, and they were lacking a lot of difference makers. They need to find those difference makers, but depth is a huge, huge key for a defense that is paired with an offense that runs as much as quickly, as many plays as Tennessee does. So, the signs pointing up in Tennessee. I got them number 5 right now.
Number 4.
Them Texas A&M Aggies. Now, you're losing a lot of talent. That's why I got you at number 4. It's going to be tough to replace some of these players, but absolutely loaded roster. We got potentially a 3-man quarterback race here. Don't forget Haynes King's coming back. Landed Max Johnson in the transfer portal. Just signed a 5-star Connor Weigman. I mean, this is going to be a fascinating quarterback race in College Station this offseason. We got a mix of experience, a mix of talent and experience. I mean, could go any way here, but I'm still looking for receivers to step up in a big way. That is a big question mark for me with Texas A&M Aggies, and it's been a question mark for far too long. We've got talent there. We've got a couple 5-stars now at the receiver position on the roster. Really need to see that unit go. How will this defense go with the transition from Mike Elko to DJ Durkin, considering some marquee players off to the NFL? Texas A&M may have the best secondary in the country. They don't play a lot of linebackers, but their linebacking core they do return is a very, very touted group. And this defensive line is going to be very, very young for the most part, but incredibly, incredibly talented. So defense should be fine, but really the big question mark, quarterback and receiver for me right now when it comes to them Texas A&M Aggies.
Number 3.
All right, the hottest take of them all. Kentucky Wildcats, man. I mean, they continue to build better and better under Mark Stoops. And, hey, if you missed it, great news for next season because Chris Rodriguez is coming back. Of course, Will Levis, he still had a year of eligibility, but he officially announced that he's coming back. Then we got some super seniors here. Linebacker Jaquez Jones, 86 tackles, led the Wildcats in the regular season. DeAndre Square made the game-clinching interception in the Citrus Bowl against Iowa, 80 tackles. And linebacker Jordan Wright, who was banged up, has got massive, massive potential. All these guys coming back, super seniors, and this is kind of same deal here with Tennessee, South Carolina, and Auburn, getting all these veterans to buy in, yet Kentucky's already there. I mean, we're talking a 10-win program, having so many guys coming back. I think they're looking across at seeing what Georgia's doing and say that's where we want to be. That was the game that we fell short in the SEC East. They're coming back, and people are laughing at this already, but that's their goal. They're coming back to dethrone the Georgia Bulldogs. And we got coordinators trying to get poached. They're staying in Lexington. I think they can sense this is going to be a special team. The home schedule includes the Georgia Bulldogs next season. So, hey, we have potentially got a special season coming here. You thought this season was good. Wait till next season. You still got to replace Wan'Dale Robinson. The defense at times was not as good as I thought it should have been, but maybe that's why a lot of these guys are coming back. You need help. I think particularly at the cornerback position, I think Kentucky's going to be able to add there in the transfer portal. And we still have a decision on Dare Rosenthal. He could come back to be your left tackle next season. We'll see what happens. But right now, I got Kentucky number 3.
Number 2.
All right, number 2 here. This might be a little controversial, but I got the Georgia Bulldogs, reigning national champions. I don't think anything I say negative about the Bulldogs is going to matter at this point because Dog Nation is on cloud 9 coming off this national championship. And they'll be right in the thick of it next season without a doubt. But, hey, this early, we just don't know. Hell, we don't know. Stetson Bennett, is he going to come back? JT Daniels, is he going to come back? Caleb Williams, is he coming aboard? I mean, I want to put the cart before the horse. We just signed 2 5-stars. I mean, we have got quite the quarterback battle brewing already, and that's before adding potentially anyone else. And Georgia's got as talented a roster as anybody, but they're going to have to replace a ton on defense in terms of talent, in terms of leadership. That's going to be incredibly difficult. I would imagine George Pickens will go off to the NFL now that he's won a national championship. But again, that's just me speculating. We got some running backs going off to the NFL. So there's a lot of pieces that have to be replaced for the Georgia Bulldogs. But let's not kid ourselves. They're going to be the favorite to win the East. Some people are going to be picking them to win the SEC, and I got no problem with it. But right now, for me, Georgia number 2 on the power rankings. And then, of course, so that leaves only
number 1.
Alabama, number 1. We've been kind of suggesting it for about a week now here because just looking at what they got coming back. Bryce Young, Will Anderson, both returning with arguably the best roster in all of college football, returning with them. Now, they have taken a little bit of a hit here because this has been pretty wild here on Tuesday, but 5 players hitting the portal. Tight end Jaleel Billingsley, he didn't factor in too much this year. He was in the doghouse. Drew Sanders, linebacker, who was a 5-star who projected as a starter to start the season. He's in the transfer portal. Quarterback Paul Tyson, quarterback depth there. The great-grandson, of course, of Bear Bryant. Linebacker King McCoutey. No idea if I said that right. Probably didn't. And offensive lineman Tommy Brown. So it's interesting that they've had so many defections via the transfer portal. But all that's going to do is line up them Crimson Tide to turn around and take 5 players eager to compete for a national championship. And probably they'll get the 5 best players in the damn transfer portal because that's what Nick Saban does. And last time I checked, a hungry Nick Saban, an angry Nick Saban, a pissed off Nick Saban is not a Nick Saban anybody wants to deal with. So look for Alabama to come out for the throat right out the gate next season. And that's where I got things here on January 11th. Well, you're here this January 12th. But hey, things will change. Just want to have a little fun, reference all 14 SEC teams and what's going on around the league. But that's going to do it on this episode. Catch you on the next one.